house is what you might be asking. And I'll tell you what the dealio on the his house is. What it happens to be is registration. Oh boy. Now we all know the purpose for registration, of course, is to create a registry, a database, so that whatever entity asking for that registration knows who has what, when, and where. It's a simple concept. Lots of different entities will do that. Remember back when you used to buy software and they'd say, register your software and get a t-shirt or whatever. You used to see stuff like that quite often, actually. It's the same sort of deal with this, except when governments are doing it, it's a little bit more, it's a little bit more intrusive, you might say, when governments are doing it. But when software companies do it, it's basically the same idea. It's just to create a user base, to create a database of your user base. We don't have to do that now in the age of the internet, but it was the same idea. It's not like the government can just petition, say, DJI, which is a major manufacturer of UAVs for civilians. It's not like they can just petition them to give this information over. Because, again, DJI is a Chinese company. The feds have no business asking the Chinese to do anything. So, obviously, that would not work out too well. Same deal with the registration of drones. It's the same basic idea where they can't ask all the different companies to give over information. It really just doesn't work that way. But what they can do, or what the government believes it can do, is it can ask all of you to give over your information, because there's sort of an implied force behind that. So the U.S. government will reportedly require all drone purchases to be registered. Now, what would the registration process be like? Now, note too that this is all drone purchases to be registered, not all commercial drone purchases. It's all drone purchases to be registered. This is a good reason to have a trust or an LLC or a corporation of some sort, so that there's that separation of liability. So when you buy something like this, buy it through trust or buy it through LLC, because that way your own personal name is not immediately attached to it. The name of your company would be. Okay, I'll give you an example. My family actually has an LLC, not because we're rich or anything, because we're not. we actually ran into some problems. But no, we have an LLC, and we've found that it's generally pretty good practice to buy things through trust or through LLC, because that way there's separation of liability. There's all sorts of different little reasons why you might want to do that, and it's always been useful for us. Something that we also found out, we haven't done this, but something we found out that was kind of interesting, is that LLCs, because they're sort of LLCs are sort of synthesized people. LLCs are not legally people, but LLCs have a lot of the same rights as people in the sort of the legal construct which the U.S. government has created. That being the case, an LLC can actually purchase a firearm. Now, I mean, I'm the guy who says that firearms should be deregulated. It shouldn't matter who owns a gun, and all these different things. That's me. But it's interesting to note, even so, in today's day and age, an LLC can actually purchase a firearm, and that's kind of cool or disturbing depending on who you are. That also means that the LLC doesn't have to go through a background check, because that's not even feasible. How do you do a background check on a company? You can't. That's how a lot of security companies will operate, because members of the company or employees of that company can be issued different items which the company owns. And it's really simple. So let's say you have a trust or an LLC or corporation or whatever you have. You can actually purchase, say, a machine gun. Now, say you pay the tax stamp and everything. You don't have to do the background check. And you buy this particular item. Now it belongs in trust. So it's not really transferable, but you can issue it out to different people who are within your corporation. So it's pretty cool. It's one cool way to not really get around the system, because you're very much playing within the rules of the system. It's just that you're using it to your advantage. Because again, this is totally legal. There's nothing illegal about this. This is as intended. It's just interesting to note that that is how it works. Well, the same would go for a drone. If an individual has to register a drone, there might be questions about, can someone who is not registered use a drone? Probably that won't be implemented, but that's something to be looked at. So it'd be much easier to buy your drone through trust or through corporation than to go through the individual process. Because again, you have sort of a separation of liability there, which is always nice. You always want to be separated from liability anyway. Company-owned cars, company fleet insurance, all that sort of thing. Separation of liability tends to be a pretty good practice. Well, the Department of Transportation, now note this is under the DOT. That's actually almost in our favor because DOT does get a good bit of funding. It's not the Department of Justice and it's not the Department of Homeland Security. That's what I would be most worried about, is if it was Homeland Security that was managing the distribution or the registration of these drones. That would be a problem if it was DHS. Fortunately, it's Department of Transportation. There's supposed to be sort of a separation there. I don't know how big of a separation there is, but at least it's DOT and not DHS. I can at least stand the DOT sometimes. Although those road signs they put up are really stupid. You see those road signs? Oh, come on. Dude, I drive on 75. All right, let me go off on a little bit of a tangent again because I have to. This is radio. I can do what I want. I'm driving on 75, right? And I go from 75 to 153 every day or every weekday because I work in Hickson. I live in Catoosa. And I see these road signs every single day, and they're just the worst thing because they have these like dumb, cutesy little messages. It's not going to save my life. Like a road sign is not going to save me. Hey, nice coffee. You're on the air, buddy. What's up?
Yeah, well, the thing that gets me about the FAA wanting to register all of these drones is, I mean, when you've got the big drones that can carry cameras, like the Phantoms and whatnot, that's one thing. But you see all these little itty-bitty drones that will literally fit in your palm. Is the FAA going to want us to register little itty-bitty things like that? I mean, where's their cutoff? It's like they haven't really thought this thing through. Where's the cutoff in size? I mean, all they need to do is pass laws that say, keep it down below like 200 or 300 feet, because anything above 400 feet, I think, is supposed to be for planes. But, keep it down to a reasonable level. And if you go above that, then you can be charged. But they're going overboard with it, just like the government always does.
Well, something to note, too, is that this isn't actually FAA. This is technically Department of Transportation territory, which makes it even stranger because it's sort of treating it a lot like road traffic instead of like planes, which is, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing yet. I'm not sure about how.
Well, that.
Go ahead.
That's almost like the DOT trying to do the little remote control cars that, the kids get on Christmas Day, saying that we have to get a license plate for those, wanting us to register these little small drones.
Yeah, I mean, it's this thing where government is going to try to get money where it can. If it doesn't get away with it, fine, because it's not really going to lower public opinion of government in general any lower than it could already be.
Yeah.
So, it's just they'll try any little thing to get money. That's just standard practice.
Well, it's not so much to me. It's not that they're trying to get money as much as they just want the power to be able to tell us what we can and cannot do.
Sure, it's governmental monopoly. There's monopoly over everything that government touches. That's the whole intent. Security, privacy, everything. That's just the nature of it. Anyway, thank you for your call.
Okay.
Great call there. Hey, the number to call in, by the way, is 423-800-8949. That's 423-800-8949 if you want to call into the show. And we always encourage you to anyway, because, hey, why not? 423-800-8949 is the number to call in. Now, the thing about the DOT doing this is, again, sort of interesting because it's just kind of odd, I guess, because I would expect to see at least Homeland Security. That's what I expected. Because I expect Homeland Security to touch everything. It's like a priest. It touches everything. Oh, that's dark. No, forget that one. The DOT will reportedly form a task force, with leading drone manufacturers to create a registration process and ease the potential headache for owners. A drone registry will bring stricter order and accountability to the industry after several recent close calls involving remote-controlled drones and commercial aircraft. Police have also routinely called for stricter drone laws. Now, this does raise a question, like the caller asked, where does that line begin between, say, RC helicopter and drone? Because now they've almost become synonymous, and we know they're not, but where does the distinction begin? Price, size, number of rotors, that seems almost reasonable. Maximum height, possibly. Rotor speed would be a reasonable one, too. So what is it really? What makes a drone as opposed to a RC helicopter? What's the difference? Maybe a camera mounted on it. That could be the thing, too. Maybe range with the remote control. That could be another deciding factor. We don't know at this point yet. So until we hear the DOT's proposal, which we have not yet, major questions still remain. Will this policy be retroactive and include previous purchases? Now, that's the big question that I wanted to get into. is, are they going to be trying to force, or not really force, it's implied force, but they're going to be kindly asking with a nice letter all these different people who have bought drones to get a license? I mean, they're already licensed to fly drones. Maybe a registry of some sort for drones? Why? I mean, who cares? They've got license to fly drones commercially. So why do you want a registration for every single drone that gets purchased? Assuming that it is every single drone that gets purchased. Because again, there's little like toy quadcopters, just hobbyist toy quadcopters that you can buy. And actually you can build quadcopters yourself. So do you then have to register ones that you've built? Lots of hobbyists have built hexcopters, quadcopters, octocopters, all sorts of different things. Do those have to be registered now? You know, actually, I would think that even more dangerous than drones would be those gas-powered, pulse jet things that people fly around, or used to anyway. You think those would actually technically be a little bit more dangerous, but I guess not, because those have actual combustible fuels on them. I imagine they're heavier and harder than a quadcopter. So I would be more worried about those hitting aircraft than anything else. But I'm crazy, so who knows? But it seems like creating a mountain out of a molehill, which is something governments love to do and media loves to do too. I'm criticizing myself when I criticize media because I'm a member of media, right? I mean, for heaven's sake, I'm a news director at a radio station. How much more media can you get? I'm very media, but I do accept and appreciate criticism, especially when it comes from myself. So I criticize my field quite a lot, maybe too much sometimes, but I criticize my field a lot, especially when it comes to my fellow journalists out in the field and out in different stations, because a lot of them are, let's face it, pretty terrible and also pretty biased. Also, there's sort of just slow news days sometimes where not a whole lot's going on, especially if we're talking about the 24-hour news cycle, which I'm convinced, by the way, has basically ruined good journalism on TV anyway. It's awful stuff. When the 24-hour news cycle came in, it's just nonsense, just semantic bull you know what that comes out, and it's just oh, this is a big story about a bear that ate fermented apples and fell on a trampoline. Here's that video. Here's someone talking over that video. Here's a bear expert to tell you about that video. Here's a video played again 2 hours later. Isn't that interesting? No, it's not news. It's just like, again, nobody cares, man. You're playing it so that maybe like one person might care about that story. But again, we live in the age of the internet where I can just look that up. I can go to YouTube and watch that video. I can watch it as many times as I want. I can watch it and comment on it. Probably some schmuck's already commented on it because it's YouTube. Everybody's got a reaction video for everything. So why do I care about some professional's reaction to that? Like, you watch these shows on, like, what is it, Lifetime or TLC? They're all the same. You watch one of those channels, and they have, like, these new, I don't know how new they are, but you watch these shows that they've got. What's that channel that used to be Court TV? True TV. That was also a terrible channel. But when Court TV transitioned over to True TV, they started playing these programs that were, like, people talking over viral videos, and, like, just, videos of people being dumb or car crashes or whatever. And they were not funny, for one. Because not like the videos themselves, like, oh, that's mean, that's not funny. I mean, like, their humor was not funny. The jokes fell flat. The videos themselves were really not that funny. And they would add in, like, sound effects. And it's just, like, bad. It's, like, actual bad TV. And I'm somebody who's an advocate for playing whatever you want on TV. Except for that. Because that's bad TV. They should be getting the worst ratings possible on those shows. But I keep watching them. That's the thing. I hate them, but I keep watching them. I don't know why. It's like, man, it's like when Andy Griffith is on. I don't like Andy Griffith. I never liked that show, but I watch it every time it's on because I used to watch it with my grandpa. So I watch it now. I still hate that show, but I still like it. I don't know. But anyway, Department of Transportation is going to be regulating drones. That's the point of this discussion. So are people going to be needing to update registry data with their when they're privately selling their drones? That's another question. If you're a hobby shop, you own a hobby shop, right? And you're selling drones to people. Do you have to create a registry? Is there going to be some sort of special, like, governmental website you can go on to punch in every single drone that you sell? This is creating another process for retailers. And again, that's kind of harming free market, of course, because now you're making retailers do something which coercion's never good, right? I mean, we have a system now that's based on coercion, always has been really, but this is just adding another layer of coercion to sort of dilute the free market system. It's very annoying. If you're a retailer, you own a retail shop, you know how bad this is going to be if you're trying to sell drones, because I mean, now you got to put in another registry, you got to sign stuff, you have to get like new equipment to come in to scan them, you probably have to do inspections every once in a while. It's just kind of terrible. So The Verge reached out to both the White House and the Department of Transportation for more details. Also, separately, the FAA is continuing to work on its own drone regulations, but has said that they might not be ready until the year 2017. So we have about a year and a half until more horrible things come out of government when it comes to drones. As it is right now, the Department of Transportation and the FAA both have sort of claimed jurisdiction over drones, which is kind of odd because where does that jurisdiction come in? I mean, where does it come from, I guess, is what my question would be. Now, I can understand states having laws about UAVs. I can get that. I can understand it because, states have a good bit of sovereignty, actually, about quite a few different things. So I understand that. But what I don't get is the feds coming in and saying, this is our new drone regulation. You can't fly drones here. You have to register to buy drones. You have to get a license to fly drones commercially. So if you're going to make any cash at all, if you get paid to fly around a drone, then you got to get a license from us. You need to get permission to enter into business and commerce. What sense does that make? So much for free country, right? Like we keep touting that, like, ooh, look, land of the free. But this stuff keeps happening, which kind of disproves the point that this is, land of the free. I would even argue with home of the brave at this point, but still, this doesn't make any sense. There's no correlation here between what's happening now and the whole narrative that we're so free. Look how free we are. It's like, look how free you are. You have to get permission to do everything. Walk down the street, pay taxes on everything. Look how free we are. And then when you question it, they say, well, at least it's not Saudi Arabia or Iran or communist Russia. It's like, well, yeah, but I mean, if your argument is at least it's not, then that's not really saying much for you. It's just saying bad things about another person. So or another entity, I guess, in terms of countries. So it's a bad narrative. It's a bad argument. And really, people should just stop making it. I mean, you're free to, obviously, because I believe you're free to make any argument you wish. But if you're going to win arguments, don't use that argument because it's a very bad one. Now, you can argue, and this would be my argument for supporting the American populace, I guess, is that we are good despite governments. I mean, really, like we're good despite government. Think about it. When has government ever done, I should say, pardon, David Tulis is in the room. He might come in and correct my grammar, smack me over the head with his grammar stick. What has government ever done to actually help us? I mean, think about it. I mean, yeah, you could argue, military, fine, but other than that, maybe, Homeland Security protection, okay. You can argue that. I'll disagree, but you can argue that. But think about it. It's all these things that leech off of us and all these things that imply force against us because there's always that implied threat of force. What if I say, I'm not going to pay my taxes? I've paid my taxes before, say income tax, but I'm not going to pay. I mean, I can't afford to. I get this return, but it's not enough. It's just giving me back my money that I spent anyway, so I'm just not going to pay taxes anymore. Well, if I don't, I get a letter in the mail. And I say, forget that, because I get anxious about mail anyway. I throw it away. I get anxious about emails, for heaven's sake, and I throw it away. A few months down the line, another letter, then another letter, then another letter. And then IRS agents come in and seize my stuff. And then I get arrested. And if I try to defend myself against this unlawful seizure, I get shot probably, or dogs rip my fingers off. Who knows? So there's always force behind every nice little thing which government might do. That's the thing. We talk about all these great programs, but they're all backed by coercion and force and violence, really. We have a violence-backed system. It's kind of like the violence standard for government. Remember gold standard for currency? I don't, because I was born way after that was no longer a thing. But we have the violence standard for government programs. It's all based in violence. It kind of has to be. We got the guys patrolling around with guns saying, we're free. Look how free you are. Have a nice free day, sir. Now pay your taxes. It's like, what kind of freedom is that? It's not. There's nothing free about that. It's ridiculous. Now, again, that's not saying that this is the worst place ever. We're the worst people ever. Look how bad everything is. I'm just criticizing. A friendly critique. I critique my friends. I critique other hosts here because we're trying to make each other better. You know, I get criticism. I give criticism. We're all trying to make each other better. I'm not putting down Americans or America. I'm saying this is not so great and maybe something should be done about it. You know, maybe what we've got right now is not the best system and maybe we can fix it. Maybe. Possibly. Someday. This is Digital Drive here on Hot News Talk Radio.
This is a mob mode. This is a mob mode. What kind of fool do you think I am? You think I know nothing of the
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Sky Aerial Services uses advanced drone technology to give you a better perspective and depth of your property and project. We offer aerial photography and video for your business, farm, home, or advertising campaigns, as well as editing services to complete the experience. Call us at 423-521-0284 and see how we can help you tell your story about your business, property, or project. We work with real estate professionals, both commercial and residential, developers, engineer inspectors, surveyors, ad agencies, auto and boat dealers, mapping services, insurance inspectors, corporate marketing, charity events, weddings, and photographers. Our consultation is free. Call 423-521-0284. That's 423-521-0284, or visit our website, skyaerialservices.com. Sky Aerial Services. The sky is our limit.
Here you are, working to keep your customers happy and to manage your cash flow. IRS problems are the last thing you need, but here they are, flapping about you like vultures. Get help from Eric Pelton and his team of accountants at E.J. Pelton Company. Audits, letters, proposed return changes, 1099s, penalty threats. Pelton Tax Resolution Services brings peace of mind and helps you keep more of what you've earned. EJPelton.com. Offices on Brainerd Road and in Saudi Daisy, just north of the Bilo. That's E.J. Pelton. Call 622-3156. Think ahead, 622-3156.
We've got a table here at Delia's in Saudi Daisy, ready to delight in a plate of authentic Mexican food. Delia's spreads a rich selection, loaded nachos, crazy chicken, homemade tamales, maybe the enchiladas with beef, chicken, pork, quesadillas. Every dish beautifully pictured on the menu to help us decide. Join us for lunch or dinner. We're at Delia's in Saudi Daisy on Dayton Pike near the Thrasher Light. Here's dinner. Delia's uses the freshest ingredients, cooked to perfection. Nachos, homemade. Delia's open every day except the Lord's Day. For lunch and dinner, treat yourself to Delia's genuine Mexican food. In Saudi, call 521-7145. That's 521-7145.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Costa, host of the Costa Report, every Sunday at 9 a.m. Did you know that a quarter of the world's population will experience mental illness? My guest this week is former Congressman Patrick Kennedy, who says the United Nations must make mental illness a priority. Find out why this Sunday at 9 a.m. on the Costa Report, right here on AM 1240, Hot News Talk Radio.
This is America Now with Meghan McCain.
Al Gore running is crazy. You're flying around in your private jet all over the world, and you want average Americans to care about the environment. Don't you think you should be doing your part as well?
Meghan McCain, weekdays at 7 p.m.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
News Talk 1240.
Hi, I'm David Tulis, inviting you to make the move with me 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio. The David Tulis Show, featuring Nooganomics.com for Chattanooga and beyond. 9 to 11 a.m. weekdays.
Hot News Talk 1240.
Fox News Radio, I'm Pat O'Neill. As the violence continues in the Mideast, Secretary of State John Kerry is due to meet this week with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu.
We have a long-standing, extremely close, very important relationship with respect to Israel's security.
Kerry will also meet with Palestinian leaders this week. The trial of reputed mobster Vincent Asaro, brought to fame in the movie Goodfellas, about to start.
Prosecutors have been working on gathering enough evidence to bring the 80-year-old to trial for his role in the infamous Lufthansa heist for years. Asaro was arrested last year after his cousin helped the government by wearing a wire to coax Asaro into spilling details about his role in the case.
Fox's Laura Engel, that 1978 $6 million caper at JFK Airport, one of the largest cash thefts in U.S. history. Lamar Odom's family says his condition's improving. The former NBA star was found unconscious at a Nevada brothel a week ago. Fox News, we report, you decide.
You give us 12 minutes and 40 seconds, we'll give you Chattanooga and the world.
Fox News Talk 1240.
Hey, how about that Michigan, huh? You know, Michigan football thing. Something happened with football, I think. I don't know. I was just told to open up the show with how about that Michigan, huh? So, I don't know. I'm not a big football person anyway, but there's a lot to get to today on today's show. This is Digital Drive. I'm your host, Russell, here on Hot News Talk Radio, AM 1240 and hotnewstalkradio.com. Hey, by the way, I just want to mention we were on, what day was it even? Saturday. There we go. I can't keep track of days, man. That's not my job. I can do anything I can't do anything that is not my job. I'm really good at doing my job, but other than that, I have no idea what I'm doing. What day is it? You shouldn't ask me. There are computers for that. No, but we were at Harvest Fest on Saturday, I believe. Yeah, Saturday. And we had a lot of fun. It was really, really nice. Got to see a lot of cool people, different booths around, lots of local people. That was nice to see. We were next to a tamale stand. And that was a lot of fun, too, because the smell was making me really hungry, actually. Fortunately, there was somebody who had hot dogs, actually, right outside the entrance of Harvest Grocery. And we got some of that. And man, good hot dogs. I hope they're there all the time. And there were a lot of different vendors around. It was just really good to see everybody there. And hopefully maybe some people noticed that we were there too. So we handed out quite a few tuning cards as well. We're going to be doing an event about that tomorrow at 11:30. So be sure to listen to the Mr. Judd Show tomorrow at 11:30 in the morning. If you yourself have a tune-in card, because we'll be doing a special sort of drawing, you might say. I'll be doing some wonderful artistry. I'll be doing a lot of drawing. No, we'll be doing a drawing of all the different numbers that we handed out. So make sure you've got that card on you tomorrow at 11:30 so you can see what number you are, and then be ready to call in, and you might have won something. Number to call in right now on the show is 800-8949. That's 423-800-8949. So we would encourage you to give us a call here at Hot News Talk Radio. We'd love to hear whatever the heck you have to say. Facebook is now going to be notifying you if you get a See, I'm not paid to think of words. I'm paid to put them together. I can't think of new ones. Now, Facebook will now notify you if you are the target of a state-sponsored attack. So if it turns out that some, Chinese are coming after you, then you'll get alerted to that fact, which is always fun, actually. If it turns out that, say, the Taiwanese are coming after you, the other Chinese, then it'll alert you to that fact. If it turns out that those folks over in Myanmar, aka Burma, are coming after you, Facebook will hopefully alert you to that fact. I have personally had experience with this because my Gmail account was logged into one time by an IP from Albania. And this is one of those stories that's really embarrassing, but you sort of have to tell it anyway. Now, keep in mind, I was very young when this happened. So this has no bearing on me now. But when I was really young, I used Tor quite a bit. And I still do occasionally. Tor, by the way, is the onion router. What it does is it bounces your ping off of a few different nodes, and it makes it obfuscates your true IP. It obfuscates your true identity. And I forgot that I had it on. And I went to log into my Gmail account, because I used Gmail at the time, didn't have a company email. And when I was doing that, it wouldn't let me in. And I was really annoyed. It's, put your, we'll call you, give your phone number and enter the PIN that comes in, and then you can log in. And I went through all this process, and I got really mad. And then I sort of gave up. I was like, man, I guess I'm not checking my email today. I came back, and I don't know what happened, but I turned off Tor, and I opened up my regular browser. My thoughts were completely disconnected from the previous event that had just happened. And I log into my Gmail account, and it says an IP from Albania has tried to log into your Gmail account. And I was like, man, why me? I don't do anything. I'm just some kid who plays Adventure Quest, that Flash game. I'm just some kid who listens to Linkin Park and Green Day because I was 12. And I was really upset. I was like, why would the Albanians try to log into my account? What do the Albanians have against me, Russell Stroud, not yet news director at Hot News Talk Radio? Well, turns out that was actually me from Albania trying to log into my Gmail account because I was using Tor, which bounced my IP off of a node which was in Albania. Oh, me. I was very young and impressionable back then, and I'm still embarrassed about that story to this day. I probably should be, and I probably shouldn't have told it over the air either, because now someone's going to mention it. I'll walk out, and Eric Judd from the Mr. Judd Show will be like, hey, don't let the Albanians get you. So it's almost as bad as the whole Pokemon fiasco, which, of course, we know is the worst force on Earth, actually. That's the thing that you might not know, is that Pokemon is actually basically what's ruining everything.
Pokemon world is a world of the demonic.
That's right, the demonic. Anyway, Facebook is now issuing warning messages to users if it strongly suspects that an account is being targeted by a hacker working for a nation state. The message also recommends that users turn on login approvals, which means accounts can only be accessed using stronger two-factor authentication. The message box, which you will see if this happens to you, says this: please secure your accounts now. J. That's just a name that they've made up. We believe your Facebook account and your other online accounts may be the target of attacks from state-sponsored actors. Turning on login approvals will help keep others from logging into your Facebook account. Whenever your account is accessed from a new device or browser, we'll send a security code to your phone so that only you can log in. We recommend that you also take steps to secure the accounts you use on other services. And they have a little link that says learn more, and the only button you can press is turn on login approvals. And there's a little, grayed out X in the upper right-hand corner. These types of attacks tend to be more advanced and dangerous than others, reads a message from Facebook security chief Alex Stamos, known for his role in the Breakfast Club. We strongly encourage affected people to take the actions necessary to secure all of their online accounts. It is important to understand that this warning is not related to any compromise of Facebook's platform or systems. Please don't make our stock dip down, and that having an account compromised in this manner may indicate that your computer or mobile device has been infected with malware. Ideally, people who see this message should take care to rebuild or replace these systems if possible. The problem with that, though, is that Facebook is basically like the normie platform. So people who use Facebook are, and we can make broad generalizations, people who use Facebook are, by and large, not security experts and are probably not the most tech savvy. Now, that's not a knock at Facebook or Facebook's user base. That's just saying that's the general population. Your average person is not a security expert. Your average person doesn't really care about that kind of security. You just don't really think about it. It's not something that I think about half the time, and I'm into this sort of thing. So it's something that happens. Now, I'm wondering, though, if your average person sees that, are they just going to go, go away and click on the X in the upper right-hand corner without ever reading the thing and continuing on as normal? Kind of makes you wonder, how many zombie computers are there thanks to some person not reading this warning and clicking on turn on login approvals and having their computer taken over by a remote access tool from some kid in China? It's kind of weird to think about, actually, how often this sort of thing actually does happen. Of course, we all know what the biggest malware ever is. It's DHCP. But anyway, Facebook's latest security scheme follows news earlier this month that the Court of Justice of the European Union struck down the 15-year-old Safe Harbor Agreement, which allowed the free flow of information between the U.S. and the EU. A European Union citizen argued that in light of Snowden's revelations about the NSA, the data he provided to Facebook that was transferred from Europe to the U.S. under the Safe Harbor scheme was not safely harbored. While a victory for the privacy of European Union citizens and a blow to the NSA, the ruling will have far-reaching repercussions for companies wanting to transfer data between the European Union and the U.S. Fortunately for us, a lot of our servers, which we use every day, are actually based in the U.S., especially if you're just I'm not meaning this in a negative way, especially if you're just a normal user of these web services. And again, that's totally fine, because you know what? That's what these services are designed for. That you are who these web services are designed for. That's fine for you to be that person. Not everyone's going to be a coder. I'm not. Not everyone's going to be someone who writes scripts. I'm not. Not everybody's going to be someone who's interested in net security, because I am. Not everyone is going to be that. And that's fine, because guess what? Our economy is kind of based on normal people. And again, that's okay to be normal. It's not bad. Now everybody's different. I know, individuality, woohoo. But most people tend to act kind of the same way when it comes to spending habits. Think about the success of a lot of these different movies. We'll take, for example, like Harry Potter. Now, I've never actually read Harry Potter, so I don't know if it's good or not. It's not really my thing. I'm not a normal person, you can tell. But a lot of people in my generation especially loved Harry Potter. So obviously these people are really kind of normal. The norm is to like Harry Potter. The norm is to go watch all 800 of the Harry Potter movies, however many they are. It seems like they're still coming out with them. And that's the thing. Like, that's it. That's normal. So we can base that your average teenager in the US probably likes Harry Potter. So then we can also assume that your average teenager here in the US, uses Facebook. So then based on that, you can also say your average Facebook user also uses these different services. And marketing is a huge, huge market. There's a huge market for marketing. Trust me. And that being the case, we can pretty much piece together what your average person does. And because we live in the age of the internet, we can see much more than we could what your average person does. And it's pretty much exactly the same thing as everyone else. We can take your basic, eco-friendly hipster guy, and we can determine that he shops at Whole Foods every day, or if he's locally minded, at Harvest Grocery every day, and he, listens to local indie bands, and he probably is at least somewhat interested in skateboarding, probably has an Element t-shirt. He likes video games sometimes. He has a little bit of a garden, and he probably reads Lifehacker occasionally. You can piece that together, and maybe has a subscription to Mother Earth News, because my mom does. We can piece that together about your average hipster guy or your average normie guy. I mean, we can piece together these things. If you looked at your average alt kid plus somewhat computer interested kid, that's me. I mean, really, I'm sort of an amalgam of a few different scenes, but I'm pretty average when it comes to a lot of different things. I like to do things as differently as I can, but again, there's always a market for that anyway. I'm not that nobody's really that different unless you're hand making something for yourself. In terms of products, you're still not that different, because there's always a product for every single thing that could ever be wanted. If there's a market for it, there's a product for it. It's just somebody has to make the product at some point. So normalcy doesn't really is the norm. I mean, there's not really any such thing as out of the norm these days anymore. It's just because we can track what everyone does, and we can make a product for every single hole in the market there could ever be. If enough people clamor for something, it will exist. And now we have huge amounts of consumer to industry interaction. Like, say, platforms like, and I hate to throw this one out there, but platforms like Reddit, where you see people who are clamoring for a certain product, and eventually the marketers, notice that and make that product. Okay, look at Old Spice. Old Spice is a very tech-savvy company when it comes to its marketing. It hit that quirky sort of viral thing that people my age, or a little bit younger, maybe 15-year-olds, I would say on average, really like. And especially kids who are just now going to have to start buying deodorant. It happens. Old Spice corners that market and nails it. And so Old Spice is what people think of when they think of deodorants for young men. I'm serious. You don't think of Degree. You're not going to buy Arm & Hammer. You're going to buy Old Spice because it's what you do. They've cornered that market because the marketing is excellent. They marketed perfectly. Old Spice has ads on Imgur. I can't think of any other company aside from eBay that has ads on Imgur, because their ads are memorable. I only remember the eBay ad because I thought, why the heck does eBay need ads? I mean, seriously, marketing is crazy nowadays. Where do they get that information? From Facebook, from Twitter, from Instagram, from Imgur, from Reddit, from Google especially. Information is almost free for the taking, except it's not, and that's the key, because information is not free. It's everywhere, and it's readily had, but it's not free. And that's how Google makes all of its money. And that's how Facebook makes most of its money. Because again, the reason Facebook is free is because you are the product. I'm not saying that to be edgy. Oh, I'm 12 years old and I listen to Linkin Park and I question capitalism. No, I'm saying that because that is the fact. You are the product on Facebook. I'm not even saying that's a bad thing. That's just capitalism, but you are the product on Facebook. You are being sold to all sorts of different companies who want your info. And that's marketing. Again, that's just marketing. That's how it is. Market research is basically being done for them by Facebook. So, of course, they're going to look at that info. All these people are clamoring about how great UGG boots are. So now UGG boot sales go through the roof because they're marketing like crazy. They don't even need to market UGG boots. It's basically got its own marketing done for it. Everyone wants it. I don't know why. It's kind of like Doc Marten boots in the 90s. Every alt kid had Doc Marten boots in the 90s. I don't know why. They just did. I don't think Doc Marten has ever had an ad. I've never seen one. But the boots sold like crazy because it's a cultural thing. Now, Facebook, you can manufacture a cultural movement. Easy. Easy. Pay a few people to make a few posts and share them, promote them, and they go crazy. And now all of a sudden people want these different products. Like snapbacks. Pay a bunch of rappers to wear snapbacks. Now everyone wants them. There you go. And that's not bad. That's just is how it is. It's marketing. I'm not saying this is bad. I'm just saying that is how it is. That's marketing today. I'm not like Soviets saying that, the state should control everything. I'm not at all, but it's just interesting to see how that works. I'm not criticizing. I'm just pointing out that is how it works. And I'm not also saying that you should never buy anything because, again, you should. Who doesn't? I'm just saying that this is how it is. It's not bad. It's not good. It just is. Same goes for weaponry. I'm serious. Think about it. When a company wants to make money, it kind of needs you to be alive. Google kind of needs you to be alive. Now, Google used to have, anyway, that whole "don't be evil" slogan. But, okay, we'll drop Google as an example. But what about a company that sells consumer electronics? Kind of like a South Korean company called Daewoo. Okay. Daewoo sells consumer electronics. It's South Korean. Good electronics. Used to sell TVs and VCRs. Really big into that market. Probably sells everything else. What else does Daewoo make? The main service rifle of the South Korean military on military contract. Tons of money flows into that. Tons of money. Yeah. So money is made off of life or death for Daewoo. They figured it out over there at Daewoo. The marketers, the execs, it's been figured out now. Because now Daewoo can make money whether you live or get shot by one of their rifles. It's genius. It works. It's amazing. It's also kind of diabolical. But there's a market for it. What are you going to do? Outlaw the sale of guns? You can't. It doesn't work that way. So it's amazing, but it's also kind of frightening. There's also a market for, say, like anonymously commenting on people, which is where the People app comes in. You see that app that had a bunch of controversy about it, where people would comment on other people, and there's all sorts of different restrictions, or you couldn't be racist or sexist or mean or comment about it like appearance or hygiene or whatever, like all these different criterion. But still, there's a market for it, and it's there now. There's also a market for complaining about the People app, so I think the People app isn't really going to be a thing anymore. But man, markets are crazy when you actually look at the huge, just the monstrous giganity of this whole. I don't think giganity is the word. The Leviathan-like mass of the markets. It's insane. And that's only scratching the surface, too, because when you start talking about stocks, you can talk about that all day. What happened in 2008 and 2007? You can talk about that all day. What happened in 1929? You can talk about that all day. Seriously, there are books as big as dictionaries about these subjects, and we're only just scratching the surface. And the market is interesting because it ebbs and flows, and it just sort of works. Because it's a very organic sort of Tai Chi sort of thing. If you're watching on the webcam, you could see me moving my hands around in sort of a faux Tai Chi sort of way. Because that is sort of how the market works. It flows around and it just sort of works, despite interference. And that's the weird thing. The market, I like to put it this way, the market is kind of like a stream where you can put rocks in streams, but the stream sort of flows around it. Doesn't really matter. Government comes in and a big old boulder gets stuck in the stream. What do? You overflow the boulder. That's all that happens. The market continues as always. The market will always continue as always. And that is how it is. Once there's a market for something, it will be sold. Whether it's legal or not, it will be sold. Think about it. There's a huge market now for marijuana. All the kids want it. All the kids want weed. But it's not legal. So does that stop weed from being sold? No. Does that stop weed from ever getting in the hands of any child? No, it doesn't. It doesn't actually really solve anything for it to not be legal, but that's a whole nother, whole nother discussion. But yet still, it's out there all over the place because there's high demand for it. There's huge demand for it. Lots of money's being made off of it, despite it not being legal. It's the cool thing. People want it. People buy it. People sell it. That's free market. It happens. You can't stop it. What are you going to do? make some sort of biovirus that destroys all marijuana. I mean, that's the only solution, really. And that's not particularly feasible because I'm sure government's making money off of it somewhere. Because if there's control to be had, government wants it. But anyway, again, a whole topic for a whole nother day. Speaking, by the way, of genetic engineering, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology, a team over there, genetically engineered a quantum virus for efficient energy transport. Now, that's not what you would think of when you think of transfers, energy transport. You don't really think of genetically engineering things. Well, when MIT phenoms Seth Lloyd and Angela Belcher, fun name, put their heads together to create the perfect peanut butter cup, we are going to be there to take a bite, according to Extreme Tech. Lloyd of quantum computer fame realized that certain features of the kinds of viruses which Belcher builds are ideally dimensionized for trying to increase the synthetic energy transport via quantum effects. When he mentioned that to her, she said that her lab was already making them. A short time later, the team had their prize: quantum viruses genetically engineered for optimal exciton transport. I don't know. What are excitons, you might be asking? Technically speaking, they are neutral quasi-particles consisting of an electron and an electron hole bound by an electrostatic Coulomb force. I don't know what these terms mean, by the way. There is now considerable evidence that proteins, including those which harness various chromosphere molecules, actually act as semiconductors, in many cases even so-called quantum critical semiconductors. When a photon hits a photosynthetic chromosphere, an exciton is generated just like it might in more familiar semiconductor materials. It then hops along additional chromophores until it bumps into a reaction center where the energy is used to string together molecules from then freely diffusible CO2 plucked straight from the air. Why do I say all these things? To show that there is a huge market for faster computers and faster data transfer rates and faster energy production. There's a market for it. It's huge. We need faster computers, to be quite frank with you. We need fast, small computers, and we need them now. There's a huge market for that. If that technology can be broken, boom, it's out there. And I mean broken in the sense of like we broke the story, not broken in the sense of it doesn't work anymore. If that tech can be broken, it's out there. It's everywhere. Everyone's going to have it. But it's not quite there yet. Billions of dollars, trillions of dollars, potentially research is being poured into building the next fast, big computer. Think about when silicon chips came in, ICs back in the, I'm wanting to say the early 70s and late 60s. That changed everything. Consumer electronics changed forever. I mean, consumer electronics basically became a thing because of that invention. And so now we have everything we have today. The markets move faster than any other market ever. I'm serious. This is the smartphone market, the computer market is the fastest moving market ever in history. And I'm not exaggerating. It is. So if we can find the next big leap, the next big IC, basically, the next replacement for the integrated circuit, we basically have the new computer revolution. And we don't have that yet, but lots of people are doing research into it. I mean lots and lots and lots. Huge amounts of money being poured into these different projects. I can't wait for the future. It's going to be a lot of fun and really fast, too. I hope. This is Digital Drive here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. Coming up next is Clutch with Keon Rose here on Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. He is our resident sports expert. He talks about sports in all sorts of, different ways that I would not think of. He's very smart in this regard. And he's probably going to be talking about Michigan and how sad that whole ordeal was. This is Hot News Talk Radio AM 1240. Hey, you can check us out on the TuneIn Radio app on your smartphone. Just download TuneIn and then search for Hot News Talk Radio, and you can listen to us streaming live on there. This is Hot News Talk Radio.
This is a modern world. This is the modern world.